Welcome to Afterglow, Unveiling the Idaho Cult. My name is Kathy Brooks. This is Season 4, Episode 4, Two Sides of Alex Cox, Ex-Wife and Ex-Fiancée Speak. A story of love, loss, and conflicting memories. Please note that this podcast contains information regarding sensitive events, including domestic violence, assault, and abuse, as well as other triggering events, such as murder. This podcast is intended for mature audiences. When Alice jumped down the rabbit hole, she immediately regretted her decision. A rabbit hole is a metaphor for something that transports someone into a troubling, surreal state or situation. Welcome to Afterglow, the unveiling of the Idaho Cult. This podcast will take you down the deepest of rabbit holes as it unfolds. This story is so compelling, so bizarre, and so heinous, it's impossible to look the other way. Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow were dedicated in the most horrible way to an ideology that should only be fiction. Instead, their ideology put them behind bars. Join us as we explore the lives, lies, and diabolical crimes of Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. I'm your host, Kathy Brooks. Please follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you for being here and for following my show. You guys are very dedicated if you've made it this far. So today, I am going to play two interviews. One is a police interview with Alex Cox's ex-wife from back in 1992. And the other one is with his ex-fiancée. Now, they both have very different experiences with the Cox family and perspectives. So this is a really interesting compare and contrast to see how memories change, what people remember, and do we rationalize things, or do we make things better for our own memory and protection, or do we make things more dramatic to get in with the drama of everything that's going on? I want you to listen to both of them carefully. The second one is an interview that I did with Susan, Alex's ex-fiancée from a very long time ago, and the first one is an interview that the police did with Debbie, Alex's ex-wife, also from a very long time ago. And also, before we get started on this, I just want to thank you all. Thank you to those who have donated to my show. I really appreciate it, and no donation is too small. Thank you so much. Okay, now let's get started. And don't forget, I'm a one-woman show, so I appreciate the reviews and the 5 stars if you're so inclined. Don't compare me to Dateline. But for a one-woman show, I think I'm doing pretty good. I hope you do too. If you've gotten this far, you definitely agree, right? Okay, let's get going. Here we go.
Investigations, Detective Coons.
Hi, Detective Coons. This is Debbie. I'm returning your call.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you for calling back.
Sure.
So, I'm not really sure. Did you provide the Chandler Police Department with a tip on a specific homicide investigation?
I did.
Okay. I didn't want to, lead into what the information was or anything like that, or even assume that it was you, because sometimes people play games with us online. So,
Sure.
So, I've read the information that you provided, and I'm assuming you typed the information out?
I did.
Okay. What is it that you can actually talk to us about regarding all of this?
Well, I can only share the conversation. So I was married to Alex many years ago, and our marriage ended within a year, but we stayed in very close contact for several years. And I spoke to Alex last, right after he had served time in jail for the assault on Joseph Ryan. And when he was telling me about it, now Alex, I'm sure you know from your investigation, was a comedian. And he was always joking about things in a funny way or trying to be funny. And he did tell me he was still really, really mad at Joseph Ryan because of things with his sister Lori.
Okay.
Custody issues. And he had told me that Joseph Ryan had possibly sexually abused the kids, Colby, as well as Tylee. But when I would ask Alex a lot of questions about it and try to dig deeper, then it would turn into, well, we're just trying to get custody. And he would flip-flop around quite a bit on whether or not that abuse had actually taken place, whether they had any proof it had taken place, or if they were just playing games to try to help his sister get custody.
Mm-hmm.
But in that conversation, he told me that he wanted to bait Joseph Ryan into a fight so that he could kill him. And if I had really at that time thought he was serious, because he said it in a joking way, but it was still creepy and weird. Weird enough that I never spoke to Alex again. That was the last time I ever talked to him. I just thought, okay, jail has not been kind to him. He's off his rocker. I really don't want to have this guy in my life anymore.
Oh, okay.
So I just never spoke to him again. That was the last time. But he had told me he wanted to bait him into a fight so that he could kill him and claim self-defense.
Okay. And how long after how long after Alex had been released from serving his time that you guys had this talk?
I think it was probably 2-3 months.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on the dates, but I know it was relatively soon after, just not immediately.
Okay. Did he ever go into any details of what he did to Joe or anything like that, or why he did that?
Yeah, he told me that he had tased him, and he told me that the reason he did it was because Joe was making it difficult for Lori to get custody of the kids. He also claimed that he did it as punishment for sexually abusing the kids. He said he thought Joseph deserved to die because of the sexual abuse. But really, Alex couldn't provide any. Well, I didn't feel, because I was like, well, are you sure? How do you know? Did you take the kids to a doctor? I was asking a lot of questions, and he just couldn't be straight with the answers. But those were his reasons that he stated to me that he had tased Joe.
Okay, and did he say that he had tried to kill Joe at that time, or was it something different?
He didn't say he was trying to kill him. He just wanted to hurt him.
Okay.
But he did tell me he wanted to kill him, but I took it more of, I want to kill that guy, just kind of conversational. I didn't think he would actually go do something like that.
Okay.
I was even shocked that he tased him. But I didn't even know about the tasing. I heard about it from Alex.
What do you mean you didn't know about the tasing?
Oh, I'm sorry. Alex had kind of fallen off the radar we hadn't talked for about a year. And so I just thought he kind of fell off the radar. And then we talked, and he told me where he'd been the last year and what he had done.
Okay. When did you guys get married?
We got married in 92.
So then you got divorced in 93?
Yeah. Yeah, that, I don't know that this helps anything with the investigation, but as soon as I married him, I didn't know his family before we got married. We dated, whirlwind romance, got married, then I got to know the family. And there were so many crazy dynamics in that family that And I've gone back since all of this came out and read my journals from that period of time. And there was just a lot of crazy dynamics in that family back then. And it caused a lot of issues right away. And it actually made me scared and nervous.
How so?
And we thought about, because there was a lot of inappropriate sexual touching and things going on in the family, particularly between him and his sister.
So between Alex and Lori?
And Lori.
Okay. You kind of got me at a loss on this one. What do you consider inappropriate sexual touching?
Like they were simulating sex acts, and which is not normal to me for a brother and a sister. For example, he would pick her up and she'd wrap her legs around his waist, and he would kind of bounce her up and down on himself.
Okay.
In front of me, and they would moan and simulate sex acts. And I have brothers, and I would never act like that with one of my brothers.
Okay.
And his mom and dad talked about their sex life in front of us constantly, and it just kind of seemed to be a game for them.
Oh,
to
the
talk
mom and
about
dad
their...
didn't really object to it then, huh?
I don't think I wear rose-colored glasses, but I find this a little hard to believe. Although we are talking about the Cox and Lori and Alex and people that did unfathomable things and horrendous crimes and to children. So maybe, but this is so weird, right? Because apparently Alex was married to this woman and Lori and Alex were doing all this stuff. I will never understand these people. Let's just put it that way. I will never understand these people. And this poor police officer detective. Can you imagine getting this call? I mean, at my job, I think, oh God, I've seen it all. Oh my God, I've seen it all. But holy cow, right? This is one of those, I thought I saw it all. Now I've seen it all. I thought I've heard it all. Now I've heard it all, I think.
No, not at all. All of this was going on in the family, in front of everybody. They had no shame.
Okay. So that obviously was kind of an alarm for you, I'm assuming, during your marriage.
Yeah.
And did it continue? Was it more than one time that you saw it?
Yeah, it was just about every time we were with them. Now, Alex and I only lived together married for about 4 or 5 months. And then I just knew that family was too weird, that I had made a big mistake. And so I got out.
Okay. So at the time, were you guys part of LDS?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, both of us had been baptized, but neither one of us were being active.
Okay.
And I was only baptized and active for a year of my life anyway. I wasn't really raised LDS.
Alrighty. How did Alex talk about Lori?
Well, he was a really, really protective big brother, but he also talked about her being hot, and he sexualized her quite a bit. But he was just also really, really protective. We lived in the same apartment complex for a while, and it just kind of seemed like Alex just chased after her a lot.
Did you ever suspect anything more going on other than their playfulness, I guess?
Well, I asked him because he did touch her breasts and things, but they were allowed to do that in their family. So to him, he didn't think it was weird. He thought I was weird for thinking it was weird. And so we talked about that stuff a lot, but I didn't think he was sleeping with her.
Okay.
I just thought he had the liberty to touch her.
Did you ever confront him on that?
Yeah, I did. And I confronted him on, what about when we have kids? Would you allow that between our kids? And he just didn't think that there was anything wrong with what was going on.
Okay.
So we thought about it.
So you mentioned that he was a protective big brother. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that?
Well, he just, she had been married. She got married really quickly. I think she ran off to Las Vegas, and this was right before I married Alex. I think she ran off to Las Vegas with she married a guy and then came home, and Alex would just always talk about how he wanted to go kick his ass.
Was this Joe or was this somebody else?
No, this was someone else. She got married when she was like 18.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't approve of her choice, and she did run away and elope. And the minute she got back to California, their dad, Barry, made her divorce him. And so Alex was like really, really bothered by that. But if anybody kind of looked at her wrong or treated her how he thought was not right, then he was always talking about how he wanted to kick their ass.
Okay, and did you ever see him take steps to that?
No. I really thought he was all talk and no action on that.
Okay.
He always just talked really tough back then.
How old were they when you guys got married and you saw this behavior?
I was 22 and Alex was 24.
Okay. And I'm unfamiliar with how much older Alex was than Lori.
I'd say 3-4 years.
3 to 4 years. So, okay.
Yeah.
So she was maybe 20, 21 at the time?
Yeah. Yep,
Okay.
That sounds right.
Okay. And where was this at? What state?
Utah.
In Utah?
Mm-hmm. Lori and Alex both lived here in Utah. And then we just went to California a lot. And so a lot of the inappropriate behavior that I saw, I didn't see any of that in Utah. All of the inappropriate behavior I saw was in California at their mom and dad's house.
So anytime that you guys went to visit the parents, that's when you saw this behavior?
Yeah.
Okay. And otherwise, how was his behavior at the apartments other than, I guess, kind of touching her?
At the apartments, I didn't really see them interact too much. It seemed like here in Utah, she had her friends that she ran around with, and Alex and I were always together. And so I didn't see a whole lot of interaction. I just remember a lot of the conversations about him wanting to beat up the guys she was dating. And he was always kind of obsessed with where she was going and what she was doing, but we didn't do a lot with her.
Okay. And is that also during that time frame that he would refer to her as being hot, or would that be only when you were visiting the family?
No, that was, during that time he would talk about how hot she was.
Okay. And to your knowledge, are they biological brother and sister?
They are, to my knowledge.
Okay. And you never talked to him after that last comment where he stated he was going to try to bait Joe into a fight?
Yeah, nope. That was the last time I talked to him.
Okay. And forgive me, would that have been in 2009?
Yeah.
Or would that have been a little later?
No, I think it was 2009 when I was doing the math.
Okay. But it
was right after he had just been in jail.
Okay. And you said like a couple months maybe after he got out.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. And at that point, did you ever hear of Alex being violent to anybody other than the event with Joe?
No, I hadn't. Like I said, I really thought Alex was all talk and no action. And so I never thought that could happen.
Okay. Did Alex ever...
I was shocked by the tasing.
Well, I can imagine. If you've never seen that type of behavior, I can certainly imagine the shock that could come from that. Did Alex ever talk about religion with you or any ideology that he had?
Yeah, he did. While he and I were married, he got excommunicated from the Mormon Church. And then over the course of the years of our communicating after our divorce, I know that he said he got rebaptized and then he got excommunicated again. And then I just don't think he ever bothered to try to get rebaptized, but he was always really, really convicted in the faith. He had very strong opinions, but where Alex is weak is he was just sexually promiscuous. And so then he just kept getting kicked out of the church because I think he was a sex addict.
So what makes you think he was sexually promiscuous?
Oh my goodness, because he told me. He would tell me. He couldn't control sex. He would find it wherever he could find it.
And is this after you were divorced?
And it was before also. I was just foolish and thought, oh, he's married now, so that's going to be over. But we were actually living when we first moved in together, we were living in Texas. And he had told me about his struggles with sex addiction before we got married. Mm-hmm. I just didn't really understand what that was at 22. And so I thought, oh, okay, we get married and it's over. But when we were living in Texas, then he came. I had been wanting to move back to Utah because I didn't like living in Texas. And he wanted to stay. But then all of a sudden he came home from work one day and said, okay, we're moving. Pack up the car. Let's go. I didn't ask questions because I was excited to leave. So we packed up the car and we left, but it was really hurried. And we even left some things behind. So once we got back to Utah, I found out that actually he had slept with a 15-year-old girl while we were living in Texas.
I mean, if that's true, that is incredibly disgusting. Alex is a pedophile. How could nothing have come from this? Right? How did this not go anywhere? We continue.
And her dad had found out, and so her dad was going to come find him.
Gotcha.
So that's why we left.
I'm going to take care of this problem on my own type of a deal.
Yeah. So Alex, that was why Alex came home and said, okay, we're leaving right now.
Okay.
And we were already married at that point, but that did play into our divorce. There was just too much promiscuity.
Sure.
Surrounding sex in our marriage early on.
So infidelity, then, I'm assuming, was part of the issues?
Just with I only know about the 15-year-old girl. Mm-hmm. I only know about that one. And then the other sex issues for us were really the situation with his sister.
The situation with his sister
just the touching and, the touching and the things that we've already talked about.
Okay.
It was just so blatant all the time when we were around her. And it was always Lori. He didn't act like that with his other sister, Summer, because Summer was really, really young. So, and he didn't act like that with his older sister, Stacy. He only acted like that with Lori.
Okay. Okay. So, since all of this stuff has obviously been hitting the media, have you been contacted by any other family members or anyone else and provided information with the intent that they wanted you to say this or anything like that?
No, I've actually really, really kept a low profile because I don't want to be in the news. I don't want my kids felt a responsibility to at least say what I heard in that last conversation. And it's taken me a while to even get to you because I left a tip on the Gilbert police, and I left a tip at Idaho, and I left a tip at the FBI. Mm-hmm. And didn't ever hear from anyone. And then it was just this last week I realized I should have left the tip with Chandler. But no, I haven't been contacted. No. I'm not even sure that people can find our marriage and divorce license because it was just so long ago.
Where was that?
So
state?
We got married in Wyoming.
And was it pretty much a know-nothing deal for the divorce?
Yeah.
Okay. Since there's no kids in common?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So I'm asking this next question because it's going to get asked one way or the other. So it's not to be judgmental or anything like that. But why come forward now this far down the road from when the investigation started?
Well, like I said, at first, I couldn't even believe it. When I saw it on the news, I thought, I can't believe this happened. And then after about a month of that, then I did start trying to reach out. I tried all of those agencies that I told you about.
Okay. When did you actually first hear about this?
December
of last year?
Yes.
Okay. And that was because of the search for the kids and or the death of Alex or what?
No, it was it was the search for the kids. I was watching the news one night.
Okay, and
it came on, and I was just floored.
Okay. All right. I'm going to just let you know that we record our conversations just because the prosecutors want that done. But I'm going to stop the recording now so I can actually ask for your personal information. Okay. So just kind of.
Okay. Can I tell you one thing though?
Yes.
Because I don't want to leave anything out.
Yes.
When I first found out, very first, I did reach out to Alex's sister, Summer, through Instagram and just said, because I heard Alex had died. And so I reached out to his sister Summer and I said, I'm just so sorry to hear about Alex. And her response was, don't believe what you're seeing in the news. And that was it. There was no other contact, but I just didn't want you to think that when you asked me if I'd talked to anyone, I talked to Summer, but that was the only exchange, and that's all that was said.
And that was with Instagram?
Yeah, and that was probably actually in December when I first heard that Alex had passed away and that there was a problem. At that point, I just still couldn't believe that actually he could have done something like this.
Sure.
So I was sad he died.
It is one of those things that we tend to not see in people, and then we have an even harder time believing it when we hear of it.
Yeah, it took me a minute to believe this was actually happening, but I would say, and I'll be honest, I was scared of being in the news because my kids don't. And I thought, well, the police are going to find everything that they need. But I just couldn't get past what Alex had said. And while he may not have done that plan to Joseph, I don't know that he didn't do it to Charles. And I just couldn't live knowing he had said something like that to me and not pass it on.
And I appreciate the fact that you are reaching out to us to provide this information to us. So I'm going to ask you, if we have additional questions, is it okay to reach out to you?
Of course.
Okay. So I'm going to stop the recording now so I can get the additional information.
Now we're going to hear from Susan, Alex Cox's former fiancée. Her perspective on Alex and Lori's relationship differs significantly from Debbie's. Let's listen to what she has to say. I look forward to all of you guys leaving me feedback. So what you're going to hear now is an interview that I did with Susan, Alex's ex-fiancée, from quite a while back, but her story is very different from Debbie. I have had this woman following me on my channel, and she's very sweet and very nice, so please use kindness and grace when you listen and if you comment. Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Left Undone Incomplete Investigations. I'm Catherine. Welcome to you all. I wanted to bring you a special recording today of a guest that was willing and very kind to come on the show. I've invited Susan on, and thank you so much, Susan, for being here.
No problem.
Great. So we all been following the Daybell case, all of us. My channel has been following it from day one, and the Daybell Vallow case. And I think people are pretty curious about the victims and the suspects and what their life was like before all this went down, who they might have been, who people that knew them. And I know there's been other interviews out there with people that know the Coxes, but you do have experience with the Coxes. And I think it'd be really interesting for you to kind of tell your story, how you met them, how you knew them, if that's okay.
Yep, that's fine. Still nervous.
That's okay. I'm telling you, when I started my channel, I never intended to show my face even. And then people in the chats were like, do a live stream. I was like, no. And then I did it, and then I did it more. You get more comfortable with time. So I know you don't do this every day, or every week, but just try to pretend we're on a call, like a phone call. That works, right?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, just tell us how you knew them, how you met them, who you met first, and a little bit about yourself with that situation.
Okay, so I haven't talked about this much because people are really judgmental. So I've been low, like just not wanting to talk to anyone. But I think it's been really difficult because people are so willing to put everything on them because of what they did now. It's not what I saw, not the family that I saw.
Okay, interesting. And that's good. I think we need to see every side. Really, I think it's important to humanize, how, why, what, no matter what the tragedy was. I think it's interesting. I think it's important for us to see a little glimpse of people that knew the family and what they were about before, and how you feel about them. So
yeah. So, like I said, I was single, had 2 little kids. I'd only been divorced for just a little while, and my girlfriend in Salt Lake wanted to introduce me to someone. This is, gosh, when dating online, things like that, it was very, very new. So she had a friend that dated Alex, and then she wanted to introduce me to him. And of course, there's a big, it was long distance. So I was Mormon, and we started talking on the phone. And he would do the voices all the time. My kids, they absolutely loved it.
So let's cut to Adam Cox interviewing Alex Cox on his radio show, where Alex Cox does these voices, and they are actually really good. I'm super impressed with how well he can imitate these cartoon character voices.
My brother Alex is the talented one in our family, and you're about to hear why. Okay, are you ready? So I told you he's all about cartoons, TVs, and movies. I'm just going to rattle off random things, and you're going to hear the impression and then the actual lines from the movie. Are you ready?
Okay.
Alex, are you ready?
I think so.
All right, let me face this over to Al. All right, give me Bugs Bunny and Little Red Riding Hood from Saturday morning cartoons.
Da! 5 o'clock whistles on the blink and my papa's at work so waiting. And he's still in the factory cause he doesn't know what time it happens to be.
And then
What's in the basket, gorgeous? I'm taking this bunny rabbit for my grandma. Ta-ha, see? It's got a nice pair of stems for a rabbit. Yeah, it's got a cute face too, see?
I love it. Okay, now we're going to switch gears. Go from that to Droopy the dog. Listen, watch this.
Mr. Dragon, do you know what? I am gonna slay you.
Love it. Now, what about Sylvester the cat? Remember the Sylvester the cat from Saturday morning?
Oh, Father. Oh, the shame of it all. How can I ever show my face again? Now, wait a minute, son.
It just cracks me up to watch him do like cartoons. A grown man that does all the cartoons. All right, what about Shaggy and Scooby?
Like, hey, Scoob, man, was that ghost scary?
Yeah, scary. That's great.
So we talked a lot on the phone, and then we wanted to meet in person. So I flew from Salt Lake to Texas, and it was great. I mean, it was, I was super nervous. But as soon as I got off the plane, as soon as he was there, gave him a hug, and he was just, it was totally cool. It was like we'd known each other forever. We had talked a long time. And so I met him in the airport and headed to where he was renting a place. So stayed there for about a week, just he and I. And then it was around Christmas time. And we went to his in San Antonio. Sorry.
His family? That cut out a minute. You went to his family in San Antonio?
His family was in San Antonio. We were in Austin.
Okay.
So we went to see his family. The week, he still had to work during that week I was there. So I would just take his car while he was working. It was just super, super fun. He gave me a massage. He was absolutely incredible with giving massages.
He was a massage therapist for sure, right?
He was. At the time, he was working, managing a rent-to-own place.
Okay.
So we spent about a week, and then we drove to San Antonio to meet his parents and for Christmas. So my ex had my kids. We went to visit his family in San Antonio. And so I'd already met Lori a few times. She was working at an Aveda salon, which was really high class, and she made really good money. We went to her place, and it was huge, and it was just cool. I met Colby then. Sorry, I'm super nervous, Kathy.
You're doing fine. You're doing great. You wouldn't know it. I don't know. It doesn't sound like you're nervous.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you wouldn't know it.
Okay, so we were meeting Lori, his parents, because she was coming with Joe. And yeah, his parents were super, super sweet. They were funny. Everybody was funny there. They had such a dry sense of humor, and just the wit was, you could cut it with a knife. It was just funny. They were.
I love that kind of banter. Like when people are just witty and quick. I
Right.
do. I always appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah.
Me too. And I'm like that. And pretty much nothing's off the table. We make fun of everything and joke about everything and stuff. It was just a really good time. And we had only been there a few hours when Lori and Joe came. And they were funny too. They would joke about they weren't married, they were just dating. The family kind of was like, yeah, Lori's, she's getting married and da 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 da. And when they got there, it was just things kind of changed. Everything kind of shifted. And then once they were there a couple hours, it got more comfortable, but they both were very open about what they were doing together. She was like, I'm going to marry a sugar daddy. And he's like, and I'm going to marry a trophy wife. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
They both joked about it. And so Alex wasn't fond of Joe, even back then. So yeah, it was kind of uncomfortable because of that. But then because they joked about it, it was just more comfortable.
Right. Right.
So Christmas, they had gifts for me. I took some things for them and their family. It was just really fun, but as far as the Mormon part, so I was active at the time. They were different as far as Alex would make fun that they would, dress and act and everything like Mormon, wear their garments and, all that kind of stuff. But then that was for, weekends for, church and stuff like that. But during the regular week, they wouldn't wear their garments and they didn't drink or do anything like that. They were just, they chose what they would go, follow and what they wouldn't. And I mean, I'm in Idaho now. I've met tons of people like that. There's just a lot. So anyway, on Christmas Day, this was the first Christmas I was away from my kids. I was missing them. Alex was super, super comforting and just sweet. And so my ex was in Rock Springs, Wyoming, with his new girlfriend, and she was super, super nice. She and I got along really well. But when I called to talk to my kids, my ex was like, nope, I couldn't talk to him. And I was in the other room and I was just crying. And Alex came in and he was super sweet about it, telling me, that's not right. And, it'll be fine. And we'll just call him in a few hours and try again. And excuse me. And so, yeah, I tried in a few hours. I ended up not talking to my kids until the next day.
Oh.
And I was just really upset. And in turn, Alex was really upset with Sean because, Alex had never had kids. He was super, super good with kids. But, Colby was just loved him. They were get down on the floor, plate. things. You know what I mean? They just adored Colby. I didn't meet Summer. And of course, you know, he was already gone. And so, yeah, it was just a really good Christmas with them. They were super supportive through the rest of our visit. They were really sad about my kids. They were, you know, just comforting.
Mm.
So then, you know, we went back to Austin. We spent a little more time together before I had to fly back. Alex paid for my flight. And he was just really sweet as far as, you know, me having a hard time being away from my kids. I had been a stay-at-home mom for our marriage. And then all of a sudden I was working, and the only thing I could do at the time, because I'd never been away from my kids, I was doing a daycare. Like care. I had 12 kids. You know, it was good money in a, you know, in a little while, but at the time I was really struggling money-wise. Anyway, so we went back to Austin. He gave me another massage. He was super, super sweet. And then I flew back home. We continued to just talk all the time. We spoke a ton. And then he went to Idaho, or, you know, he went to visit me in Idaho. And my kids they clicked from the get-go. They wanted to be around him the whole time. They wanted him to do voices the whole time. And for the whole visit, he was there a week. For the whole visit, it was just like wonderful. He was just so incredible with my kids.
Uh-huh.
So I went out and visited him, you know, about 6 or 7 months later. Spent some more time with his family. We talked to Adam on the phone. Yeah, things were just going well. And then he came back. So I visited twice to Austin, and then he visited Idaho twice. And we talked about marriage. He actually came to Idaho to see job-wise what he could do. We spent some time looking at jobs and, you know, just planning. We were planning to be together. Like I said, we talked about marriage nonstop. It was just a really good thing. Lori was super, super sweet. I just wanted to clear something up as far as what I saw, you know, when I visited. She was so nice. I didn't see anything inappropriate going on. I've heard that a few times. Sorry.
Yeah.
Lori, you know, as much as they joked, Lori still, you know, I think she wanted to be with Joe, but Joe had a temper, and I think they were all kind of concerned about that.
Oh, okay.
I know this doesn't go with what everyone's saying now. I ended up breaking it off, and I just thought down the road we would get back together. But at the time, with him never having kids, and you know, you really, I think a lot of times, if you have an ex or something like that's difficult to work with, people that don't have kids don't understand that you give in a lot to, you know, your ex or whatever, if you think it's going to be better for the kids.
Right.
And so he just had such a hard time, like,
understanding that.
Yeah. And everybody wanted to, you know, it was like, take him to court, do this or this or this. And they don't understand that every time you go to court, it doesn't take care of what happened right then. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. I've been there completely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So he would get really angry with Sean. He never met Sean in person, but the things that my ex did, they were totally wrong, but nothing I could take care of right then, you know?
Sure.
And he would just get very protective, very angry, not at me, but he would just be like, you know, he just couldn't believe Sean was that way. He shouldn't be able to do this, you know, when I'm there, you know, it'll be different. And so as much as I appreciated him standing up for me and, you know, just adoring my kids, that it just wasn't going to work with my kids being so young and him not knowing how to deal with an ex. And it wasn't about the wins. It was about just my kids.
Right.
So, we continued to talk on and off. I had been trying to get a hold of him when I was coming back from Boise. And yeah, I was going to speak to him again. My kids are older now. I just thought, honestly, we would end up together. I didn't have any red flags with him. His family, they were just incredibly sweet and nice to me. Yeah, we talked about he and I being together. It was very open. Their whole family was very open, and just I can't say anything bad. I see what's happening now. Before Alex died, I was absolutely sure that the kids must be somewhere else, because I could not imagine Alex doing anything to children. He was that person that was just incredibly great with kids.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, that must just blow your mind, really.
It breaks my heart and blows my mind. I still wanted not to believe it. And as more and more come out, I have to talk a little bit about the LDS side. As more comes out, I know that he's the one that did it. I think so. So let me go to the LDS side of how frustrating that was for me.
Okay.
So when you're LDS, it's a big kind of like competition in some ways, because everybody wants to have this vision, or feel like they've gotten answers to their prayers and all kinds of stuff. And I think a lot of people get very depressed if they don't have that. I've been listening to Mormon stories, which is a lot of people that have left the church, just to understand that side of it. And yeah, I'm looking at, like, if they thought Chad, I think so much of this is on Chad's shoulders. And I think that people just want to kind of brush Chad away, because Alex and Lori are such a, it's just a better, it's a whole family you can cut down. You know what I mean? But I mean, I look at Chad and I think none of this would have happened. Unless you believe that she killed Joe, you would never think that, this was their fault. I think Chad was the catalyst in this. He definitely, started all of this. And he's the one that, if you believe in me, then you have to believe what I tell you, as far as kids being dark and family being dark, and anyway, on and on. In my head, that's just a man wanting to be with Lori. You know what I mean? He made the whole thing up, and I don't know if he believed it or not. I have a hard time thinking that he actually believed it, except for he had been boosted up for a long time to think that, everybody's going to believe what he says. And then, maybe in his own mind, he was that person that knew all this. But yeah, I think that, if you listen to a couple things on that LDS thing, just about people that are gay, anybody that's queer, that, it's a huge thing as far as the church. You're just not accepted. Okay. And that's just one idea of it. So yeah, I don't think Lori went into this being this horrible mother. I think that if she believed what Chad said, then all of that other stuff is believable too. I never saw her as being somebody that would hurt her kid. I never met the other kids, but yeah, I don't think she would ever do that just on her own. I'm sorry.
No, and I mean, the Woodcocks say that too. They said she was a good mom. She was such a mom.
She really was. And I coming to terms with them, the actual act of doing that makes me sick. It makes me sad. And at the same time, I'm grateful that he and I weren't together, because,
oh gosh. Yeah.
Blessing
in disguise, really,
It really was. so yeah, that's a big part of it, is the church part, and just coming to terms with that in the end. But I don't believe she did anything to Joe. I do totally see Alex doing that to Joe, what he did. As
Oh,
far as
yes.
the taser.
The taser.
Yeah. I mean,
He was so protective, and
so he was protective of kids in general. He would tell people, just have no qualms with telling you what he thought of people that would do things to kids. So I know that doesn't sit right with what they did. I do believe that listening to Rob Wood at the very beginning of this, telling the people in Arizona that her family, that he absolutely believes that she believed all of this stuff, and that was Rob. I don't
on
think it was Lori.
That, with that summer recording. Yeah.
Rob was like, that I absolutely believe she believed all this. I don't think it's Lori taking advantage of anybody. You know what I mean? I don't know how to say it, but even her going into the hospital, what did she was determined, what was the word?
Incompetent.
Yeah. So that's not her that was choosing the incompetency, because we don't have mental health issues. We do have them. That's not what I meant. We don't have, saying that you're insane. We don't have the insanity plea.
Right.
So when something's mental health wise, they have to deal with it. We can't just take a plea, or they can't just take a plea of insanity or whatever. She wasn't the one who chose to go into the hospital. That was other people saying that she is not in touch with the real world. And so I absolutely believe that that's true. And it is something in Idaho that you can actually do. But again, she doesn't choose it. It's other people. And do you know who decided? I heard it once, who decided that she was incompetent, but I don't think it was the judge playing, that had fallen for her. I don't think, Rob Wood, he has his own issues, but I know that Lori, that's just the way she acted. I know when she was young, and she was a pleaser. Well, 100% she was a pleaser. And so, yeah, I don't see her. She didn't choose the insanity or the.
You're right. I mean, I think we have to trust the mental health or the health care system, the professionals on this one. I mean, really, I, as part of the healthcare system, I can't imagine me going, oh no, I know more, you know what I mean, than those people that are evaluating her, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, she's going to be in there until they think that she's in touch with the real world. And, so I just wanted to give my view of the family, because it's so much different than everyone else's. And don't talk to anyone about this. Don't even talk to my kids. I really keep it to myself, because where I live, it's total judgment. I mean, I would be getting, all over. And I don't want to bring that on my kids. I don't want to deal with it. Yeah. So I did have a call from Nate way back when this started. And I didn't, because of something I'd said online.
Oh,
yeah.
He saw you. Hey.
Yeah.
Got it.
I was, nope, I want nothing to do with it. And so, it's been since the start that I've really kept my mouth shut. And I don't follow the case closely. And the funny thing is, like in Rexburg, where I have friends and family, because the church, not everybody knows about this case. It's really surprising, because people online think everyone knows, and it's just not like that. Even if people do know and they don't follow it, they really don't have a lot to say about it, because they're not in the middle of the drama.
Yeah, I mean, I ask people, I'm in California, but I ask people all the time, because especially people know I have my, people, friends and family that know I have my channel, and they're like, but you have a true crime channel? Like, what do you talk about? And I'm like, well, I've been following this one case, the Daybell case, you know about them? And they're like, no. And then every once in a while, somebody's like, Oh, you mean the one that the two kids were in the backyard? And that's pretty much all they know, you know? So, yeah, I believe that there's a lot of people out there that don't know the details. And you really have to study this case to understand all the avenues it goes down. So,
Absolutely. But,
yeah.
you know, I wouldn't have known about all of the in-depth things because, so I just started YouTube probably 3 or 4 years ago, but I looked at just politics. You know, I would just be surprised at how much misinformation was out there, and still now, you know, lots of misinformation. But I kind of stopped with the politics. It was just too stressful.
Right.
And my daughter got me into true crime, and so yeah, I was.
So you were following true crime before this all went down?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So were you just blown away when you heard who the people were that were involved?
Oh, you know what? My friend showed me a picture, and I was like, wait, I know her.
Oh.
And yeah, and then I just shut right up, and I was like, I'm gonna have to see if that's really her. And just in my mind, I was like, okay, I need to look into this because, you know, this was at the very start, and they were just like, this is so weird. I'm like, yeah, it is. I'll talk to you later.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine.
It was so. Yeah, I still listen. I listen to you. I, you know, read and watch all of your stuff. It is super interesting to follow, but it's also super frustrating because I never saw any of that in the people that I knew.
Yeah. Well,
his dad, odd.
His dad,
his dad was odd.
Was he?
Yeah. So, you know, I didn't ask much about that. He definitely, he was an odd duck. So, yeah, but again, being odd or whatever, they were still incredibly sweet to me. And it's funny, you know, I laughed so much around all of them. So,
did they ever talk about Stacy, the sister?
They did. Alex, you know, he would talk about losing, you know, his sister, and he was emotional about it. It was still, you know, it had only been a little while, and, you know, a few years, but yeah, it was really, really hard. And there were some deep talks that we all had at his family's. And, you know, it wasn't a family saying, you know, it wasn't something like they're talking about, you know, how probably wanted her to die. They probably this and that, you know, again, the family that I knew, they were not like that, but they were, they kind of kept to themselves still, you know. San Antonio is huge. I didn't know of people that they were around in San Antonio or anything like that, but it was definitely a family, you know, had gone through some loss.
Right. So, yeah, they've had a lot. Do you think when they had that one interview with Janice and Summer and they were like, oh no, Lori would never, Alex would never, do you think that Janice and Summer truly believe that Lori and Alex were not capable of that?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I absolutely think that they were being honest because that's how I felt until they had found it. I was like, there's no way they did this to kids. They loved him. There's just no way. So I think anyone that knew him or Janice or, you know, anybody, they would think that they were being completely honest in that interview. But I do think that there was a part of them was thinking, you know, if this is true, this is our son or our brother, you know what I mean? And
right. I
think that they were being honest at the time.
Because everybody gave a pretty hard time about them. Like they knew, they lied, the phone bill and all that stuff. But,
sorry. No, it's like any parent, you know, I would have a hard time thinking that about my kids. But, you know, if I was hearing some of the other stuff in the back of my mind, I would be like, you know, it may be, some of it may be possible. You know what I mean? You think that, but you don't say it because it's your kid, you know, you don't want to believe. So I think that they were being honest, but that's, you know, that's that's how I felt.
I think that that's really good. I'm really glad that you came on here and were able to talk about this because we have not heard this side. everybody's been attacking the Coxes and Lori, and, and I mean, I do think Lori's pretty superficial and she likes nice things. And I mean, that's not to be disputed, but it's interesting because I've gone back and forth in my head about how it came to this, and really that she really get like her mind just warped by Chad and his belief system. And I kind of have to lean towards yes on that because of the fact that, she has those kids and she seemed to really love them and adore them. So it's the whole thing is just, I don't know. I still can't wrap my mind around it. And I don't even know these people.
Right. I look at like Warren Jeffs. I look at, anyone that was a cult leader or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I look at how they blame the cult leader, but they see the other people as victims because they believed in him because, they were kind of conditioned to do so. But I think it's very interesting in this whole thing. Chad's been on the back burner. They kind of don't give Chad much crap. It's all about Lori and Alex and their family, because I think they just have a lot more people that's in on it. But with Chad, no one spoke, held him up or said that, no, there's no way he could do that. People are just kind of not worrying about Chad. But I think Chad's the catalyst. I think that he definitely was the one that brought this.
I mean, if you look at it as a cult and a cult leader and people that follow, and it was all his ratings and systems and all those messages now that we've seen between people asking him what he thinks about this, and, Zalema with her questions to him about somebody in her house that, she's seen or whatever that seems dark. And then his answer is yes. And, when you look at all those little details, it does really appear that Chad was running the show.
I don't picture Alex and Lori at all doing this on their own or thinking anything about any of those things until Chad came into their life. And to be honest, Lori would have never been with someone like Chad if it wasn't something much, much deeper. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I think they absolutely believed in the stuff he was selling. And yeah, she you're right. She definitely liked nice things. She was definitely, always on top about her look. I just, I don't see her falling for a guy like Chad, especially from all accounts. She was very happy with Charles. So.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And they were together for 14 years or something? That's a long time for her to all of a sudden flip a switch and be like, oh, you're Ned Schneider and zombie. Right? And like, wait, what?
You don't go around saying that stuff unless you believe it. You know what I mean? I think that they absolutely 100% believed it. And I think Chad absolutely had to know that it wasn't true. So it's like Mormons following a prophet. You have to believe what they're saying, or you wouldn't just blindly follow them.
True.
So, I think in any situation, in any religion, it's only as good as their members. So
very true.
That's just my outlook on it. It breaks my heart. Alex is gone. I still don't think it was natural causes.
I agree with you on that. I think there's something to that.
So it just, they were everything as far as what I saw was that they are really good people.
Thanks.
I think Alex was just an incredible, incredible guy.
Then it just makes it even sadder to hear that,
Yeah.
Because we kind of want him to be an asshole. I mean, really, what I mean?
Yep. And they're picking up anything that's, iffy. And again, social media's, it can be good or bad. And they only cherry pick what they want out there, and I think they're putting their life before to fit their life now. And that's just not how it was.
Wow, this is awesome. Thank you. They're very insightful and interesting. I know you were like, I don't know if anybody's going to care what I have to say, but I actually think this is really, really important and interesting. And to hear the human side of them before this all went down and how you feel about that. So.
Yeah. And it's just not worth it to me to say anything, to say these things when the only thing that could possibly happen is a lot of blowback on me. So it's just, I can't deny how I felt. I can't deny what they were like around me. That's just that's my story.
Right.
And
it's your story. Nobody can make you change your story. It's yours and it's how you feel. So, but I mean, you know how it is on, I'm sure there'll be comments and don't read them. But I think there'll be a lot of support too. I really do. My channel tends to have a really good group of people that follow.
I hope so.
Yeah. No, I'm really proud of you. Thank you. Anything else you want to add before we end?
I just, just know that there's other people out there like me that are just nervous to say anything because of.
Yeah. So. I mean, it's got to be really hard. Look, we're going into the third year of this. So it took you, a long time to even be willing, I guess, right? I got the interview before Nate. I'm pretty impressed with myself right now.
Right. I don't want it just all over. Yeah, so
right.
It's like, no.
Totally. Gotcha. Yeah. Right. No, and we do have a good community. You've been part of it. You said you follow the channel and stuff. So we, I hope that it'll be comfortable enough for me to post this, and I will do it as a premiere. So there will be a chat. You're okay with that?
Yeah, I am. I mean, yeah, it's my truth.
It just is. All right. Well, Susan, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you being here. And I'll let you know when I'm going to post this.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, ex-wife and ex-fiancé. We will continue with so much more. Thank you, everyone, for following and liking and subscribing to Afterglow, Unveiling the Idaho Cult. My name is Kathy Brooks. Stay safe and stay well. Bye-bye. Sources for today's show: Nate Eaton, East Idaho News, Law and Crime Network, and special thank you again to Susan. I appreciate her so much. She has been a great follower of Afterglow and of Left Undone. Theme music by Dan Lebowitz. I'm Kathy Brooks. Edited, produced, recorded, all by me, Kathy Brooks. Bye-bye, everyone. Stay safe and stay well.